Good day, folks, and welcome back to Ed's Garage at Merton Hyundai. Today, we are looking at the 2023 Elantra Ultimate N-Line. That's right, they heard you guys. They combined the N-Line and the Ultimate together. That means you get the best of both of those models from last year. So we're going to go over everything on this vehicle. I'm going to cover all the features, go over it from front to back and inside, but we're going to start at the front. So we have the beautiful, of course, grille going from the headlight to headlight, which is kind of nice. It kind of blends in really nicely. You can see you've got the N-Line badge there. You got the LED headlights and high beams, LED daytime running lights. You got your air curtain pass-through right here with this, of course, N-Line specific front fascia. Beautiful vehicle. In the window here, you can see we've got the forward-facing camera for the lane keep assistance and for the autonomous emergency braking. And then right here, you've got the forward-facing radar for the emergency braking and the adaptive cruise control. Coming around to the side, you have the N-Line specific wheels. Check this out, beautiful aluminum alloy wheels. So these are an 18-inch. They're a mud and snow hand-cooked tire. They look fantastic, guys. I don't know, I think these are possibly the nicest rims you can get on an Elantra. Maybe the Elantra N has nicer rims. I don't know. I think these are really nice. Now, guys, in case you're not familiar with the N and the N-Line specific vehicles, N-Line is sort of a lower performance, but sort of more appearance package that you'll find on some of these vehicles. The full N versions, those are the performance track cars. So the Elantra N, which comes in at just over $40,000 Canadian, that's the full-on performance model. This is, of course, a little bit less. As you can see here, before any sort of dealer markups, it's $31,724 in British Columbia. However, it does come with the 1.6 turbo engine, making 201 horsepower, 191 foot-pounds of torque. So that's what we're going to look at next. Let's pop the hood. All right, so we're looking at a 1.6 turbocharged four-cylinder engine here. Now, this is direct injection. You can see we've got the GDI badge right there. On the right-hand side here, you can see we've got the air filter, we've got the battery, fuse box. Everything is laid out very, very well. This one's a little bit more cluttered than you'll find in the 2-liter. And that's just because it's a completely different engine, and they don't have the cover covering the entire thing there. However, we have some nice insulation up here, reducing a little bit of engine noise, and you can see some more insulation along the back wall there. Lots of course, the structural adhesive. Hyundai uses tons of structural adhesive, about 380 feet on this vehicle, if I remember correctly, which is more than twice as much as the next closest competition. And lots of advanced high-strength steel construction on these as well. This one with over 50% advanced high-strength steel construction, which again is significantly more than the competition. Yeah, 201 horsepower, 191 foot-pounds of torque, and this vehicle is a hell of a lot of fun to drive, guys. This is a much more interesting vehicle than the typical, lower model Elantras. Not as quick as the N, but definitely a lot better than the regular Elantras, like the Preferred, the Essential, etc. And with that N-Line package, its stance is just so much nicer. I mean, check it out. So you've got the little side skirts along the bottom here as well. You've already seen the front fascia. The back of the vehicle is also a little different. So you've got the sort of air diffuser there along the bottom. You got the tinted tail lights, and of course the nice red light that goes all the way across there, the light bar, and a nice little black sort of spoiler lip kind of thing. It's a good looking car, especially in this color. I really like this. This is the intense blue. Yeah, also you got the dual chrome exhaust tips there, and one of my favorite features, which we'll look at next. Check it out. So just standing here waiting, I've got the key in my pocket, and boom, the trunk opens up. Didn't have to press any buttons or anything. So that is the hands-free smart trunk system. And big trunk as well, lots of space in here. You've got the little grab handles for the 60/40 split rear bench. And then under the floor, still has a spare tire. But let's go and check out the back seat. All right, so I've got the front seat set up where I would drive it. Let's have a look and see what it looks like when somebody who's 6'2" sits in this vehicle. All right, so a little wobbly there with the camera, sorry. All right, so as you can see, I've got tons of space in front of my knees here. This is the best-in-class interior space. This is awesome. Doesn't have heated seats back here, so that is something that they got rid of, and I kind of wish it did because it is a really cold day today. We do, however, have the folding cup holder armrest, and it's a nice cushy armrest as well. And then on the seat backs, you'll notice we've got the nice solid seat backs. We've got a net on the passenger side there. And as far as the floor goes, I can slide my feet underneath the front seat. I've got bottle holders in the doors, and I've got grab handles on almost all the positions. The only position that doesn't get it is the driver's side, but of course the other 3 positions do have it. Also notice we do have the black headliner in this vehicle as well. Looks really, really nice, and of course the sunroof. Before we jump into the front seat, I want to point out you do have the proximity entry, of course. There's also a light that comes on as you approach the vehicle. You got blind spot in the mirrors here and the marker lights on the mirrors so that people in your blind spot know what your intentions are. All right, let's jump in. By the way, guys, this also has remote start on the key fob. And one of the cool things with the remote start, actually I'm going to do this. One of the cool things about the remote start on Hyundais is that when you remote start, let's get it fired up here, and then you get into the car, all you need to do is put your foot on the brake and it comes to life. Oops, sorry about the wobbly camera there. So you'll notice everything is now running, and I didn't actually have to press the start button again. It just recognized that the key was in the car and it came to life. Before we get too comfortable, however, we do have height adjustment on the driver's side. So you've got the adjustable height and adjustable tilt. You've got the backrest there, and then the lower back support. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-way power. Check out these seats though. Isn't that gorgeous? So you get the end-specific seats. Got the cool sort of stitched bolsters there. Nice leather interior with the red stitching and red piping, especially up along here as well. Just looks really, really nice. Inside, you can also see we've got the red stitching on the steering wheel here and on the shifter. Right, having a general look at the overall interior. So this one does have the ambient light. You can see the little strip along the bottom here. And this is something you can change the color of. If I remember correctly, it's 64 individual colors you can choose. Really, really nice. Of course, that lights up, down here lights up. Looks really, really cool. And that's all something you can configure from the screen, which we'll get to in a bit. But let's start with the features. So first off, on the left-hand side, you can see we got the dimmer switch here. You got your lane keep assistance, and then traction and stability control. Up above, we can see we have the drive mode button there, which of course does change the screen as well as, of course, the drive modes. You have the normal, sport, and smart. Normal is normal. Sport tightens up the steering wheel and gives you definitely a little bit more low-end kick. It also tries to keep you in a lower gear for a longer period of time. And then the smart mode basically looks at how you're driving and adjusts accordingly. Sort of puts it into a sort of automatic dynamic mode or eco mode, depending on how you're driving. On the left signal here, stock, you've got auto headlights and as well the momentary signal, which you can choose 3, 5, or 7 flashes. You got automatic high beams as well. I don't know if you can see that there. On the right-hand side, just your typical windshield wiper stock. No auto wipers on this one, unfortunately. Steering wheel, you have the paddle shifters and nice long shift paddles, so you can actually get them from wherever you kind of put your hands there. So really, really comfortable. It is a fully heated steering wheel as well. Nice leather-wrapped heated steering wheel all the way around. You get the N badge on the bottom there. On this side here, all of these controls are for the stereo, which we'll touch on a little bit later. And then this side here, these are your drive controls. These 2 buttons control everything in the middle of this screen. And then you've got your adaptive cruise control here. This one adjusts the distance that you're following the car in front of you. And then you got lane keep assist or lane follow assist for low speed. So up to 64 kilometers an hour. This button, when you press it, basically you'll see the little steering wheel come up and it'll follow the lane. The high-speed lane keep assist, that's this one here, that's 64 kilometers an hour or faster. That icon is there. When that's green, basically the same sort of thing. Now, this steering wheel is also tilt and telescopic, so it'll go in and out, up and down, as you can see. Pretty simple. And then there's a handle on the left here that you just loosen and tighten for that. Looking at the center console, we have a small storage area down here. Nice cushioned armrest, 2 cup holders with a little center thing that you can flip around depending on the height of your cups. So it either locks in there, so shallow or deep cups, just like that. A little further up on the console, you have the auto hold button there. That's for your, basically uses your brakes to hold the vehicle in place when you let your foot off the brake until you press the gas pedal. You got your e-brake here, which does shut itself off automatically when you put the car in drive. And you got the camera button here. Let's have a quick look at the cameras. Or camera, not plural. You have a backup camera here, of course, with dynamic steering lines, so when it's in reverse and you move the steering wheel, it moves those lines to show you where you're going to go. You also have the option to look straight down over the bumper, and it still keeps you, or it keeps that dynamic steering line. And I really like how they actually keep the map or whatever else you have on this side. I like how they kind of keep that up here. You can see we can customize some of the stuff in here as well. And yeah, just a neat feature. In front of the shifter, you have the 15-watt wireless charging pad. So that actually cools down your phone while it charges. Pretty cool. You got little holes there for that. And above that, you can see we got two USB ports. One is for the stereo. Now, this vehicle is equipped with the built-in navigation system, so unfortunately, no wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You do need to plug it in there. And then you have the port right there for charging other devices, so tablets and cell phones, that sort of thing, larger cell phones, and a 12-volt port right there. A little storage area to the right of the charging pad. You have dual-zone automatic climate control, and I like this as well, a lot as well. It's got 3 levels of automatic, so if you don't want the fans blasting on you, you can reduce the level of automatic climate control fan speed, but still keep it on automatic, which is a nice touch. And then, of course, you have the digital readouts for the temperatures there. You got your heated steering wheel there, heated seats left and right, and really nice feature, it automatically goes into recirculate when you use the windshield washer fluid, assuming that that's set up, currently set up, which I don't believe it is. So we'll quickly enable that. Oh, it is. Okay. So activate upon washer fluid use. A little further up, you've got hard buttons for the stereo, which is a nice touch. You can see we got the map, nav, radio, media, volume. Now this is also a power button. So if I press this, it'll turn the radio off and on, but if I hold it, it'll actually shut the whole screen off. Then you got your seek and track. This one here is a customizable button. I usually set that up to open up Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and then the setup button, which we'll go over in a moment. Looking up here, we can see we have just a regular mirror and no auto dimming on this one, unfortunately. Saving on chips, I guess. You got mirrors and lights on both of the sun visors, and both the sun visors do slide. So next up, let's do a bit of a deep dive on the center screen. Now, there isn't generally this much glare. I think that's just because we have the protective plastic on there. So let's peel that off. There we go. That looks a little better. So first off, you'll notice we have these 2 buttons here, which we can use to control that center screen. So this upper button here basically scrolls through a couple of different menus, and then this button will go through the sub-menus within those screens. So I'll show you that. We'll start on this one here. So this is our drive info. So it's basically your trip computer for the last time you started up the car. So right now, the car's been running for 15 minutes. I can reset it by holding this little rocker button. There we go, it's now reset. Now I'm going to use a rocker button to go down 1 to the next screen. This is accumulated info. We can reset that one as well. So that's your trip A, right? And then we also have attention level. So this one here will basically tell you if the car thinks that you're getting tired, and it's doing so by detecting how often it needs to correct your position in the lane, as well as how jerky you are with the wheel and that sort of thing. We got tire pressure monitor, we've got the drive mode that it's currently in, and then we can also change the contents of this screen. So we're going to open that up real quick by holding the OK button, and you'll notice now there's a little blue check mark right there. So I can enable and disable all these different things. I'm going to go ahead and enable the trip computer since last refueling. I'm going to enable the digital speedometer, and I believe everything else is already enabled. Perfect. So I'm going to exit that now by pressing this top button, and back to the other contents here again. So some of these things we already went over. Here is the digital speedometer. Now, you used to be able to change this into miles very quickly by holding the OK button. Unfortunately, you can no longer do that. You need to do that now in the setup menu of the infotainment screen, which we'll see in a little bit. So that's everything in this particular menu. Let's go over to the next screen. So we're going to press that top button. There is our lane keep assist and adaptive cruise information. You can see I can hold OK to enter the settings for that. and that should bring up the settings on this screen here, assuming it was on. But there we go. So there it is, highway drive assist and highway auto speed change, etc. There's a lot of stuff in there we're going to cover in a moment. But that's pretty much it in there right now. Let's go over to the next screen, which is our compass. Now we can also have our turn-by-turn directions here, and to get to that I need to start navigating. So let's use the left side of the steering wheel here and set an address. Find the nearest Walmart. Line 2. Yes. All right, so now on this screen we should see, as soon as it's finished, there we go. So now it's showing our turn-by-turn directions, and you can see on the right here there's little dots that can actually see another screen there. So if I use the up and down button on the steering wheel now, I go to the total destination time and distance, or I can go by turn-by-turn directions. And then if I hit that top button again, it bounces me over to the first menu that we already went through. So that's how you can kind of navigate through that little screen. Now, the other things that are on the screen, of course, are your headlight current settings and your current gear. So if I put it into sport mode, for instance, I can use the paddles now to shift gears. So I just hit the right paddle to go into first gear. Of course, it was already in first gear, but now it's showing me which gear it's in. And then as I move through the gears here, you can see it changes. Left-hand side, of course, is your speedometer, and your fuel is on the bottom there. Right-hand side is your tachometer with the temperature at the bottom. And then our overall odometer and range till empty. Now, I just revved up the car. Let's quickly hear what the engine sounds like on this. It actually sounds really, really good. All right, hopefully my microphone doesn't fall off, but let's hear what this sounds like. All right, not a terrible sounding engine or exhaust note. It's actually pretty nice, and it has a little bit of burble, not too much, not too little, just enough. So not going to have any problems with law enforcement down in California. But anyway, let's check out the center screen now, because I think that pretty much covers everything for the instrument cluster. The only thing I want to point out is there is, of course, a means to change what this display looks like. So if you change the drive mode, I already went over this, but you can actually have it so that it's always in this screen, even when you're not on sport mode, as an example. All right, so now let's talk about this entire screen here. So first off, you notice we got different driver selections. So we got driver 1, driver 2, and a guest. We're going to go ahead and select driver 1. Now, the first time you select a driver 1 or driver 2, you can actually configure it and put the driver's name and stuff in there. For now, we're just going to skip that, and we'll do that at another time. This is, of course, the home screen that we're looking at now. So we have on the left-hand side here the clock. If I tap that, it does actually bring up the clock settings. So there's that. And then if I go to this one here, if I tap this side, it'll bring up the map, which is kind of cool. And then if I tap the bottom left, it takes me to the radio, which is currently playing nothing. So that's good. So that'll bring up the radio. If I tap it again, it'll actually go to the radio screen. Now, the main screen here that we're looking at is not completely useless, because as you can see, I can go into those different things. But this is really the main home screen where all of the applications are. And then there's one here as well. So let's start with the map. So if we go to the map, now you already saw how easy it was to set a navigation, direction, destination, that sort of thing. But there's a couple things in the map. See here, you can go to 3D, which is kind of cool. And then there's lots of, obviously, settings that, I'm not going to go into absolutely everything, but just to give you an idea of just how easy it is to use. If I want to set an address, I don't actually have to use the voice recognition. I can actually point to a specific location. Let's say I want to go to this Cascade Christian School here. I can go set destination, or I can go to the nav screen to enter in a destination. And that's either using the navigation menu button here or the hard button down below. But for now, I'll just go in here. I can go to search, and then I can type in an address manually. So I just type in the street number, name, and city, and it should come up pretty easily. So I'll just do that real quick now. yeah, I don't even know an address I have to put in here. 31977. How about that? Keystone Ave. Now I can actually put in the city name if I want, but if I hit OK, it'll probably find it anyway. Yeah, sure enough, there it is. I hit it, and I can go set destination. We can actually add BlueLink services to this as well, which is kind of cool. So if you have BlueLink set up, which I'll explain in a bit here, but you can use BlueLink to kind of get a better destination address route, because it'll pick up things like traffic problems and construction, that sort of thing. So we're going to cancel that now, and we're going to go to the next thing. So that's the navigation system in a nutshell. Pretty easy to use, honestly. So phone menu, of course, takes you to where you can actually type in a phone number or find a contact, that sort of thing. Pretty simple. Phone projection is your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Voice memo is where you can record your own voice and play it back at a later date. Climate is just it gives you an exact overview of what's going on with the climate control. Now, you can't actually adjust the climate in here. Like, none of this stuff does anything. But if you adjust it down on the climate control screen, you can see everything kind of moves, and it just gives you a visual representation of what's going on. What you can change in here is the settings for the climate control. So you got recirculate air when you use your windshield washer fluid, automatic dehumidify, and defog. So some basic climate settings there. So not a whole lot to be done in that menu there, but it's there. Valet mode is when you have BlueLink set up, you can actually set the vehicle into valet mode. It kind of restricts access to a lot of the vehicle's features. HD radio data. So let's go into that. This is pretty cool. So we have our traffic report. So if there's any traffic problems, it'll actually give us that information. And we can also choose to show the traffic problems on our route. We're currently we're not actually navigating anywhere, so it doesn't have that option, but that's what essentially that is. We can go to Doppler radar. Currently, there's no information for Doppler radar. What will work, though, is the fuel prices. Sorry, I forgot to show you that. So this one here shows you current fuel prices. Guys, this is per liter, not per gallon. Just a heads up. I'm in Canada, so this is kind of cool. So you can kind of weed out brands and fuel types. You can put favorites in. If you find a gas station that always has cheap fuel, you can put that in your favorites. But you can see the prices right now are pretty ridiculous. $1.90 per liter. It's just nuts. But yeah, so that's what that is. Let's go to the next screen. So the next screen is the radio. Now, the radio, as I mentioned, does have the HD radio option. Funny, they're actually using the older style here from the last couple of years, the vacuum tube style, which is interesting. Now, this vehicle does have the Bose audio system with the center channel and subwoofer in the back, and HD audio, which is kind of nice. Now, as far as your favorites go, you can quickly put a favorite in just by hitting the little star there, and it comes up along the bottom. When you fill this up, you'll have another section with more favorites that you can choose. This button right here switches you to AM and Sirius XM audio, and you can go straight to the channel list from there. One thing I really like is anytime you go to a menu, you can actually open up a QR code that you can scan and take you straight to the manual and the page in the manual that talks about the thing that you're currently looking at. So that's kind of cool. So that's the radio, pretty simple. Media will take you to playback from your cell phone or from Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth, USB music, sounds of nature. Again, one of those things that I find kind of hilarious. They haven't actually changed it ever since it came out. It's always been the same, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sounds of nature. Hyundai, open air cafe is not natural. That's not a sound of nature. Moving on. So let's look at the BlueLink options now. BlueLink, you can see here there are several different options with BlueLink. By the way, guys, BlueLink is free in Canada for 3 years, after which time it's between $10 to $30 per month, depending on your subscription option. But it allows you to remote start your car from your cell phone, find the vehicle on a map on your cell phone, unlock the doors, lock the doors, that sort of thing. It also calls emergency services for you in the event of an accident. And then within the vehicle, you have the weather option, you got the calendar option where you can actually set up things like service reminders, that sort of thing. Vehicle diagnostics, which is cool, maintenance reminders, and then your settings is right there. So yeah, we won't get into that because you have to actually have BlueLink enabled for that to function. So next we'll go to the next screen here. Notifications, also BlueLink related, and then you can open up your your user manual from here as well. And this is the entire user manual if you were to scan that. And then let's go to setup and show you some of the things you can do in here. So under vehicle, this is kind of cool. So you can really customize a vehicle to how you want it to be. So in driver assistance, if I go to driver convenience, you can see we have a highway drive assist and highway auto speed change. So the vehicle will actually maintain its position in the line, and the auto speed change will adjust the vehicle speeds on the highway depending on navigation data. So if it determines that the speed limit is 100 kilometers an hour, it will actually try to keep you at 100 kilometers an hour. It's pretty cool. You have warning timing. You got warning volume levels. Now, you have the drive safe priority and parking safe priority. We're going to enable that right away. It's going to lower the audio volume. If you're listening to music, it'll lower the volume if it detects, something's going on, or when you're parking. And you can adjust, high, low, medium, that sort of thing as well. Under driver attention warning, so leading vehicle departure alert. So if you're at a stop and the car in front of you starts to go, it'll pick that up and it'll give you a little reminder that it's safe to go. Inattentive driving warning is what I mentioned earlier. That's the attention level. So if you're not being attentive, it'll actually tell you to take a coffee break. It's kind of funny. You got your forward safety, active assist warning only or off. So that's the autonomous emergency braking. Lane keep a safety, so where it can actually assist and keep you in the lanes, or it can just provide you a warning, or you can turn that off. Blind spot safety. So this is kind of cool. So there's a few different things that the blind spot monitor system can do. Safe exit assist is one of them. So if you're parallel parked and you're going to open up your driver's door, it'll actually give you a warning that there's possibly a vehicle coming. And also when you're driving, it'll actively assist the vehicle control when the risk of a blind spot detection is detected. So if there's a car in your blind spot, it'll actually prevent you from, going over and crashing into that car. Under parking safety, you can see we have rear cross traffic alert, which gives you a warning if there's a car behind you or a car or pedestrian about to pass behind you from the sides. And then you can also go into your camera settings here. You can extend the rear view camera rather, or you can adjust the display settings for the camera. And that's pretty much everything in driver assistance. Under cluster, here's where you can actually change your dashboard illumination. You can change the blue light filter. So we're going to enable the blue light filter right away, and that's automatic. So as it gets dark out, the blue light filter becomes enabled, which is cool. And you can also go to cluster theme selection. So this is what I was mentioning earlier. So you can either have it linked to the drive mode, or you can actually choose one of the four themes. So if we kind of peek over at the instrument cluster here, you can see it's now on a different theme. So that's theme D, theme C, theme B, theme A, or link to the drive mode. Blah. Okay, and that's pretty much the cluster theme selection. Now you can also enable your service intervals, so you can have custom distance and duration. You can have the fuel economy reset automatically after refueling or after vehicle start, or just manually. And you can also change the content in the instrument cluster. So you can see the instrument cluster example here. So you can have your wiper lights display. So when you change the wipers and lights, it displays in the instrument cluster. You can have traffic signs show up in the instrument cluster, including the speed limits. Icy road warning. We can enable our welcome sound, and we can enable and disable, we can reset our oil change reminder. Obviously, it's at 100% right now. Climate, we already saw the climate settings. We're going to skip that. We're going to go to lights, and here's our ambient light settings. So here's where we can change the brightness of the ambient light. We can link it to the drive mode as well, or we can choose a color. Now, they have a few set colors, or you can go to custom color, and you can actually choose whatever color you want, and then the ambient lights will be that color. Pretty cool. And, of course, we can dim that in the dark, which we'll turn off because, quite frankly, it's not very bright anyway. We also have our one-touch turn signal in here, which we can change to 5 flashes. Our welcome light is turned on. Headlight delay and high beam assist are enabled, so we'll leave those on as well. Next, we'll go to door. You can see we have our smart trunk and our 2-press unlock, and then our auto lock unlock. We'll leave all of that on as well. Convenience, we have rear occupant alert. So when you get out of the car, if the rear doors have been opened at any time, it will actually remind you that maybe you've left something in the rear of the vehicle. And you can see this is also where we can enable and disable our wireless charging system. So that's all the vehicle settings. Navigation settings, not going to get into this too much, but one thing I want to point out, you can actually have it always display the speed and speed limit on the map screen, which is cool. So if you're going over the speed limit, it'll turn red and warn you. And I think that's really the most important thing. You can change the map modes and colors, but we won't get into that right now. So yeah, lots of information and configuration there. Under sound, a couple cool things. So you'll notice we have dynamic speed compensation, so the faster you go, the louder it gets. We also have a startup volume limit, which is nice, so when you get in, you're not going to get freaked out by blasting music. Of course, you can change the position and you can change the tone. In guidance, this is just allows you to customize volume levels when you're navigating. Radio noise, you can see we can actually adjust the noise reduction for FM radio. Driver assistance, here's where you can actually set it to either not or do so, basically lowering volume when you're, we already looked at this really, when you're navigating or when there's a warning or something like that. And then you can adjust the volume for connected devices as well. Device connections, where you actually go to connect up your phone or whatnot. User profiles, where you can configure the profile that we looked at earlier. Voice recognition, this is where you can actually customize the amount of prompts that are used when you use the voice recognition, so you can have it simple or advanced. Screen layout is where you can change, what sort of things come up when you shut the screen off. So if I have it on digital clock, for instance, and I shut the screen off by holding the power button, there's our digital clock. Or we can have our analog clock. There's that, pretty neat. Or just nothing at all. And we can also change the customization of the split screen, which I forgot to mention. If I go into the map here and I hit this little button, this is the split screen. So now we have map on the left, our media on the right, but I can also scroll through the different options here. So there's a clock, for instance, there's a compass. So yeah, it just kind of gives you an option to have two things on the screen at any given time. Let's go back to setup here. So that screen layout display. So here's where we can enable the blue light filter, which we've already done, and then adjust our illumination level. Ignore that for now. Blue link's where, of course, we can set up blue link, and then general is where we can change the system information, date, time, language, that sort of thing. Our units like miles per gallon or kilometers or miles or temperature, Fahrenheit, Celsius, all that good stuff. And then we can also do an update from here as well, assuming we have a flash drive with update software in it. All right, and that is basically it. Long video, I know, but there's a lot to cover. And all of these ultimate trim levels have so many features, it takes a little while to get through them all. Now, keep in mind, this vehicle, of course, also has a 5-year, 100,000 kilometer warranty in Canada, 10-year, 160,000, or a 10-year, 100,000 miles down in the States, I believe it is. Don't quote me on that. I just know the Canadian one. So good coverage in Canada, one of the best. You also get 3 months free of SiriusXM satellite radio, and as I mentioned before, 3 years of free BlueLink. Hope you guys like this video. Again, I know it was a bit longer. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and comment below if you have any questions or if you have any requests for future videos. I will do my best. I try to get every different model that Hyundai produces up on here eventually, and I do throw in some other models as well from other brands when we have something that's relatively new on the lot. Again, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.